Zach Life Beat Depression's day 794, and we're back for more with another somatic healing session to wipe out depression. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in now. Anyone who's tuning in later, appreciate you guys and girls out there. As you know, it's a martial arts for mental health show, and the way we keep that mental health focus is by incorporating a couple different mental health tools, free tools that we all have available to us. One of the first ones we always like to start every single show with is that powerful mental health tool of gratitude. So today, gratitude going in, as always, first and foremost, to everybody supporting the cause. I want to shout out gratitude to Slayer Ken for crushing 400 days of progress and inspiring others. I want to shout out gratitude to Brett, aka McLeod, for crushing 100 days, over 100 days of progress and helping inspire others as well. And really being that change that they want to see in the world. Not only taking care of themselves, but sharing their self-care with others, same way that I attempt to do in here every single day. And that's been a great way to motivate one another. So they're building on my motivation, I'm building on theirs. Our progress is inspiring each other to make progress. So I want to shout out gratitude to those two for their milestones. Also want to shout out gratitude to everybody else who's been putting in the work and hitting those milestones as well. Keeping track of your progress, moving forwards, and sharing that progress with others to inspire them to move forwards as well. That is my gratitude section, and go ahead and think about your gratitude section for the day. That'll put you in a little more positive of a mindset as we move into the lesson. And it doesn't have to be just one piece of gratitude. You can think of multiple things to be grateful for. There's no limit to how many we can come up with. And typically, I feel a little bit better the more things I think of. But each one of us is different, and we got to find those tools that work for us. Some people have enhanced the gratitude tool by adding it to journaling and writing down those things. Some people start their day with that gratitude tool and just helps move everything in a positive direction. Remember, you pretty much are what you focus on. So if you're focusing on those gratitude tools and things to be grateful for, you'll become more grateful just by default. And science has actually shown, they've done a study on that gratitude tool itself, and it's shown that even just the act of asking yourself the question, what am I grateful for? Even if you can't find the answer, has had a positive effect on that balance in the brain, that balance of serotonin level, and it makes it easier to find those things to be positive for in the future. So keep on practicing that gratitude tool. As always, I am grateful to you guys and girls for being here. Shout out to Slayer Ken. There he is, 402 days today. And to Master Checo, thank you for tuning in as well. So that's the gratitude tool. Second tool we're going to talk about, as always, is that progress tracking tool. And Ken, you shared your days, 402 days of progress, crushing it out there, inspiring others along the way as well. Thank you. Make sure that you guys and girls are keeping track of your progress and the number of days that you show up for yourself, because that number builds up, builds ourselves up, builds up our confidence, our self-esteem, and self-validation. And those are things that nothing can take away from us, not even the effects of depression or anxiety. Keep having that factual proof is a good way to anchor yourself back to reality when we're going through those temporary thoughts or feelings that depression may give us. Temporary feelings, like just speaking from personal experience, there were days when I was still dealing with clinical depression where it physically felt like my body was too heavy to lift out of bed. Having this number, keeping this number, track of this number, is something that allowed me to say, no matter how I'm feeling now in this moment, I know that for X amount of days, I have gotten up, I have moved forward. So this is your proof of strength and resiliency. It's your proof that those feelings are temporary. It's your proof that you can move forwards. So give yourself the proof that you deserve so you can give yourself that credit that you deserve and accurately, value your time, your energy, your effort, and what you're capable of out here. It's been 794 days for me of consecutive training. Keeps me alive and happy every day. Let me know how many days it's been for you. Shout out to Ken at 402. Shout out to Pedro Carvalho. Thank you for joining as well. So we talked about gratitude. We talked about the progress tracking tool. Let's talk about today's lesson. We're going to be dealing with some push techniques today. So we're going to use an open palm push, and we're going to twist through the body to toss our opponent off balance. We're also going to use a push knee, driving through the hip to toss them off balance, and the staple in Muay Thai, that teep, lead push teep or rear push teep, that push kick. And we're going to think about those pushes and how we can work that in to a sparring routine or a training routine with a partner, how we can use that push to set up our opponent for a counterattack or a follow-up attack. Maybe making use of some tools, some striking techniques that would otherwise be very easily telegraphed and very easily defended. So, before we get into that, let's make sure we keep that focus on mental health. Make sure you're checking in on you and moving at your pace. It's all about giving ourselves a challenge every day. It's not about competing with one another. It's about competing with ourselves so that we can keep moving forwards. So make sure you're challenging yourself at a rate that matches where you are today. Check in on yourself. See where your energy level is. See how, if you're feeling fatigued, if you're feeling active, did you get enough sleep last night? Are you well hydrated? Are you in a good physical state? Check in with you and make sure that you give yourself that challenge, right? We don't want to take it too easy. We'll fall into boredom. We don't want to push too hard because then we overwork, wind up with more anxiety, more stress, and that's not good for mental health. So our goal here is to find that flow zone between too difficult of a challenge, more anxiety, right? More depression, too little of a challenge. Boredom means we're not going to continue accomplishing our goals because we'll get bored of it. We want to find that zone in the middle. It's known as the flow zone, and that's where we get to challenge ourselves and increase that challenge as our skill level increases. It's been 794 days for me, so I've got to get more technical as we move forward in these routines. But if you're just starting out, Wednesdays and Sundays are very good days to start with. They're low intensity, slow moving class, and we have over 300 days of training freely available on our IGTV series at Sac Life Official, and we've got over 100 days on YouTube at Sac Life Daily. So feel free to pick up any of those lessons at your own discretion, on your own time, whenever you'd like, if you'd like to start moving forwards and give this form of healing a shot, pun intended. So that being said, today is going to be a bit technical. We talked about that push. How do we keep our shadowboxing training mental health focused? Do you know? One of the ways we do that is using that visualization tool and using word association. So by consciously acknowledging what we do here every single day that we get up and fight forwards, we can reinforce that truth, kind of the same way that a positive affirmation will reinforce a true belief. So when we get up and we're on our feet fighting forwards, we're literally not debilitated, right? We're up, we're moving, we're not laying in bed debilitated by depression. So we're giving ourselves physical proof that we are stronger. And we're also overcoming any of those doubts or feelings that we can't show up for ourselves. So the way we acknowledge that is when we visualize that opponent, we assign it the name depression dummy, right? The depression dummy or the anxiety dummy. And that way we can consciously acknowledge that what we are fighting against, what we are overcoming, and what we are working forwards through is that right past depression. We're turning that stress hormone cortisol, we're turning it around and using it to build ourselves up instead of letting depression break us down. We're overcoming those lies that depression sells us that we can't do something. And we're making ourselves both physically and mentally more resilient. So assign that name of the thing you want to work on to that visualized target. That way we can practice proper form, but keep mental health in mind. And remember your why. Remember the reason why you're here, fighting forwards to give yourself that better quality of life that you deserve. How do you know what you deserve? It's based on what you give. So give it 100%. Let's give ourselves a challenge and let's move forwards today. Shout out to Bracelets Can Be Scary. My taco push is named Bubbles. That's nice. Thank you for that. She can hide out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 legs. Cool. Thanks, Claire, for that. If you don't know Claire, she's 5. She's coming in from Canada. And she's out here as an inspiration to all of us moving forwards through what she's dealing with as she fights forwards through chemo, through treatment, and continues to show up and put in the work, right, to move forward. So congrats, Claire. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. You're part of my gratitude section as well. And checking in on comments. Ken said, forever grateful for being here to gain some peace of mind, healing my mental state via exercise, plus glad I had met such good people in my life as friends and family. And the feeling is mutual, brother. Very much appreciate you being here so regularly for the last 400 days. You've been an inspiration to myself and an inspiration to others. Other people have mentioned that the reason they started something, the reason that they started moving forwards, or gave this a shot, or gave something else a shot, is because they're seeing others have a positive experience. So that's one of the best ways we can help each other. Thank you for sharing that. And speaking of which, speaking of shared progress, Lisa the Luminary is here over 400 days of progress. Let us know where you're at, Lisa, when you get a chance. I know you're crushing those goals every day. You've been fighting forwards and making progress as well. So thank you so much for being another rock in our community as we support each other in that fight for better mental health. That being said, let's get back into the lesson. It's a Tuesday. It's a standard day. So we're going to do our standard 3 rounds, 3 minutes each, 1 minute breaks in between to catch your breath, drink some water. It's going to be fairly technical because, as I said, we got to keep giving ourselves a challenge. As my skill level increases, I've got to get a little more technical so that I can continue to give myself that challenge and continue to grow forwards and make that progress. So, 3 minute rounds, 3 rounds total. 1 minute breaks in between to catch your breath, drink water, check in on you, make sure you're avoiding those signs of overreaching, and we're going to get right into it. So we're going to start with fundamentals. We'll have those fundamental jab and cross going as we move around. And we're going to talk about getting in close to the pocket, maybe with an elbow strike. And from there, we're going to think about if our opponent is blocking a lot, it's deflecting all of our shots, right? They know what's coming. We're tossing hands, we're tossing feet, but we keep getting blocked, we keep getting checked, and they're just solid. They're just a solid rock right on point with their defense. One thing that we can do to take them out of their flow and out of their rhythm is a really powerful push. We can use a push kick, a push knee, or just a standard push from the hands. So let's talk about that. Claire says 100 is a big number. Absolutely. Yeah. Brett, a.k.a. Soul, I didn't see him yet today, but he just hit 100 days of progress himself, and it is indeed a big number. Keeping track of that number is very important too, because it's really easy to forget where to give ourselves credit and how far we've come if we're not keeping track of that. So let's get back on track with the lesson. We're talking about the push, right? And we're going to be working with fundamentals. We'll have some 80s beats coming through as we move through our standard 3 rounds. And we're going to talk about getting up close and dealing with an opponent who's blocking a lot. So we're going to visualize that depression dummy kind of deflecting and taking those hits. And we're going to open him up, take him off his balance, and make him vulnerable to an attack, and then follow up with a nice, big, powerful attack as well. What's the plan for day 800? We'll have to see what happens. There's so much chaos out here. I don't know where I'll be or what I'll be doing. But I know for one thing is for sure, that at 6 o'clock, I will be here fighting forwards. And I will be here keeping myself alive, keeping myself happy, and waiting for you guys to support your growth if you're willing to show up for yourselves, anybody who's out there watching. So, yeah, that is the bike guy speaking to Claire. Hoboken, no joking. Yes, we can try and hit Hoboken. Let's see how the weather goes. You know, I'm still on that motorcycle while we wait for the Beat Depression bus, so everything's super weather dependent. It's very frustrating and chaotic at the moment, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. Also, you might have noticed that this ground has gotten larger. I've been clearing out some space, getting ready to put in some padding in here. We're going to take training to the next level. Be doing hopefully some sparring over here in Zach Life Studio number 2, the Zach Day House. So look forward to that. Some changing content coming up in the near future. Now let's get back on track before it gets too late. Let's get into this thing. We're going to be working from Muay Thai stance. We're going to be tossing those jabs and crosses. Also stepping forwards, getting into the pocket, right? Getting real close up with that opponent. And we're going to visualize that opponent blocking shots. And the way we're going to take them off of their balance, first and foremost, we're going to start with just a standard push. Now, you can push their head, you can push their chest, but we want to get a really powerful push from up close. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the same mechanics we use for a punch. Just like we twist through the shoulders, the hips, we use that body to generate force when we toss the punch. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use an open hand and just push. We're going to make contact and push through the body, tossing that person off their guard, making them stumble back, and that's going to open them up for a follow-up attack. So let's practice that a little bit, and we're going to roll into 2 follow-up attacks. One will be a low roundhouse, so we're going to step out. We're going to hop forwards as we step out. Hop forwards, and then toss, boom, that low roundhouse through the legs. And then the other one is going to be a lunging Superman punch, so we're going to leap forwards like that on the one foot, bringing the knee up, and then boom, rail that fist straight forwards into the face of that stumbling opponent. So the two things that we're going to look out for here, I know this is going to get kind of technical, but I want you guys to push at your own pace, go at your own rate here. There still will be fundamentals in there as well, so you can follow along with them. But the things we're going to look out for here and kind of visualize is we're going to have to use our imagination and think about what different ways this opponent would stumble. When they stumble backwards after we push them, if their guard comes down and they're stabilizing with their hands, then we want to jump in, bang, and rip that Superman punch. If their guard stays high and tight and they're just stepping back this way, trying to get their balance, then let's target a leg or let's target some center mass. Target something that's not defended, they're not balanced, so they don't have the ability to check kicks yet, because we've taken them out of that balanced Muay Thai position. So we're going to twist through the body and shoulders, pushing them off their balance, and then we're going to look how they stumble back. First and foremost, we'll talk about an opponent who stumbles back and lowers his guard. If they stumble back and they lower their guard to stabilize, we're going to take that leap in on that front foot, bringing the knee up like we're going to fire a knee, but we're going to turn it into, bang, a nice long-range Superman punch. Very powerful leaping punch there. And then we'll talk about the roundhouse kick as we go through. Let's see how much we can get through, how we can flow through our 3 rounds together. Remember, go at your pace, work on those fundamentals along the way, give yourself that challenge, and let's put in some work and make some progress. That's what it's all about. Here we go. Square up with your visualized opponent in Muay Thai position. Let's get those tunes going. And let's do this dance. Visualize that opponent. Remember, assign it the name, that depression dummy, and pop into your Muay Thai stance. Now we're going to need some room here, so if you can, give yourself some room in front of that camera to step forwards. And we're going to step forwards into the 1. Step in, twisting through for the 1, and then back to stance. Step for the 1, twist, and back. Keep the guard high, chin tucked, shoulders rolled. Step and twist for the 1, and back. Step, and back. Step, and back. Now we're going to start with some forward movement, some forward momentum. So small step into the 1, and then we're going to bring that rear foot forwards and twist through for the cross. So now we're building forwards momentum. Work some space in there. Step in for the 1, twisting through. Bring that rear foot forwards, twisting through for the cross. Put those two together and start to make it more fluid. Step, boom, and back to stance. Step, boom, and back to stance. We want to work our way forwards, putting that forward pressure on the opponent and working our way into that pocket. Step in for the 1, 2. 1, 2, and then back out. Keeping that guard high, chin tucked the whole time, shoulders rolled, hips curled, knees bent, weight on the balls of the feet, so you can rotate nice and easy. Guard high. Step in for the 1, twisting through the shoulders and hips. We're letting that rear foot come forwards into our balanced position, and we're rotating at the same time, boom, on the ball of that foot, driving that cross forward, building that forward momentum. Give yourself space, and we're going to work in another jab, and then we're going to step into an elbow to get right up there in the pocket. Step in for the 1, rotate for the 2, step again for the 1, rotate for the 2, and back it all the way out. We're going to change that last strike, that last cross, for an elbow, because we're going to imagine that our opponent stop backing up, and we're now in the pocket. Step in for the 1, pop, rotate for the 2, bring that rear foot forward, step for the 1, and now slide through, boom, for a nice round elbow to the face. Now, we're in the pocket, we're visualizing an opponent who's keeping their guard tight and just taking those shots. But we're going to keep that pressure on. Shout out to Win Roses Blossom. Thanks for being here. Step in for the 1. Boom. Roll through for the 2. Step for the 1. Slide forwards for the elbow. And back it up. Back to stance. So we're going to start working the push in there to take them off balance. Because so far, we want to visualize that guard. They've got good defense. They keep deflecting those shots. What are we going to do? We want to take them off their balance. So step in for the 1. Bah. Roll through for the 2 with the step. Step for the 1 again. Slide for the elbow. And now here, you're up close and personal. They've been blocking everything very well, right? We hit their defense. What we want to do is turn the palm, place it on their forehead or on the center of their chest, and we want to roll through the hips and the shoulders, just like we do for a jab, but this time, whoosh, push through with the body, whoosh, push through, twisting through those hips and shoulders, tossing that opponent back and knocking them off their balance. It's going to open them up for follow-up attacks. That's the end of round one. We'll pick up from there. In the next round, we're going to start talking about hunting them down, chasing them down, and getting some shots in there when they're off balance, right? We're going to create those openings when we're talking about sparring. Now, if you're working with a bag or a bob, we've got 43 seconds, by the way. Catch your breath, drink some water. If you're working on a bag or you're working with bob, you can still use these advancing techniques. All you've got to do is give yourself space from that bag, especially if it's a swinging bag. It's real cool to work with a push on a swinging bag because you can jump in there and toss something after it. But even with bob will work for up until that push. We work on things with bob. So if you're working with a bob or a bag, good step in for the one, slide for the two, right? Give yourself that distance. Step for the one again, right? Making contact. Roll through for the elbow. And here, I want to push. Just start practicing placing that hand on the chest and driving through the body, right? Roll through for the elbow and then push. Boom. Push through. Nice powerful shove. Twisting through, using that whole body to toss them back and push them off balance so we can follow up with an attack. Alright, it is time for round two. Square up, visualize that opponent, get into your Muay Thai stance, give yourself room to advance here, and we're going to start with that same combo we started with in round one. Stepping in for the one, slide forwards for the two, step in for the one, slide forwards for the elbow. From here we're going to push, push on their chest, twisting through the body, using all that rotation and the body weight, boom, to generate force. Make sure that ball of the rear foot is on the ground and planted, right? We want the ball there, we can rotate, but we want to also be able to push forwards through the ground, all the way up through the hips and shoulders, tossing that opponent. Now, once we toss them, we're going to visualize them stumbling back and dropping their guard. So sometimes someone's going to stumble back and drop their guard for balance. Other times they're going to keep their guard and just stumble back with their legs trying to stabilize. So for now, we're going to visualize that opponent stumbling back with the guard dropped. Let's bring it back to the top. Create some space here. Step in for the one, slide for the two. Step for the one, slide for the elbow. Shove, boom, into the shove. Give yourself some space here and let's visualize how we're going to hunt down that now off-balance opponent. We just shoved them. They're going to stumble backwards. If the guard comes down, we're going to take a leap in on that lead leg. So we just shoved. We're going to leap in on that lead leg, bringing the knee up, right, at the same time. And then we're going to kick that leg back as we drive over the top with a nice big Superman punch. Boom, to the face. Back to stance, square up. Let's start the combo over from the top. Step for the one, slide for the two. Step for the one, slide for the elbow. Twist for the push. And now here is where we would leap in. So give yourself room to leap in. Leap, boom, and drive through the body. Twisting through, bam, driving through those shoulders, right? Kicking that foot back at the same time. We're leaping into the Superman punch. As that knee comes up, we're going to change that foot direction, drive the knee back, drive the fist forwards, back to stance. Now let's start from the jab, elbow, push, and then leap, bam, drive that Superman punch down the center line. Back to stance. Start from the jab step, boom, roll to the elbow, twist for the push, then leap in, bang, and drive that Superman punch over the top into that face that has now lost a guard. Back to stance, step for the one, slide for the elbow, push, leap, and drive that Superman punch. Boom. Remember, with the Superman punch, let the shoulder move forwards as the hips move back. You're kind of creating this rotational force with your body, right? Hips are going backwards, shoulders going forwards. You're reaching over the top, boom, and you're kicking that leg back in the opposite direction of the fist, kind of like you're flying through the air like Superman. That rotation there, whoosh, just like that, using those opposing forces, that's how we generate torque and power in that punch. We got 34 seconds, catch your breath, drink some water, and in this final round, we're going to talk about the low roundhouse kick. We're going to make it a low lunging roundhouse kick. Looks like we won't get into those other push mechanics of the knee or the teeth this time. We'll try and pick up with those in the next couple sessions, develop different push techniques to give you a more diverse toolkit of weapons you can use out here. But for now, let's bring it back to the top. We got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Square up. Muay Thai position. Let's start that whole combo, and we're going to end it with a different kick this time. So, step in for the 1, but twist through for the 2, letting that rear foot come forwards. Step in again for the 1, slide forwards for the elbow, and from here we're going to twist into a push. Boom! Twist into a push. Now we're going to visualize that opponent keeping their guard up, so they're not open for the Superman punch this time. This time we've pushed them, but they're stumbling back with that guard still tight. So as they move back with that guard still tight, they're not open for the Superman. What's open? Their legs. They're stumbling back trying to get their balance, and more than likely, at some point, they're going to plant those legs, and they're going to be unable to check a kick. So as they're stumbling back after the push, what we want to do is, again, we're going to leap in, but this time we're going to leap diagonally. We're going to open up those hips just like we do for a low roundhouse kick, leap diagonally, and we're going to reach across the head, right across the guard, even though the guard is high. Reach across the guard, and then we're going to drive through the hip, rolling that hip over, turn it into a low roundhouse kick. Boom, low roundhouse kick. And if you've got the room to rotate on the ball over your foot, do so. If not, do it nice and slow. You can slow this thing down. Step in for the 1, slide for the 2, step for the 1, slide for the elbow, push. And now here's the point. We push them back, their guard's staying tight, right? They're stumbling backwards. After the push, we're going to leap in, whoosh, and chop through those legs with a nice low roundhouse kick, rolling that hip over. Let's focus on the roundhouse kick first, just to break that down a little bit. From here, from your square stance, we're going to leap forwards, opening that hip. Notice the hip opens, the foot turns, we're stepping forwards. At the same time, we're working with a counterbalance here. That trail hand, the hand that's about to chop for the leg, is going to reach across, keep us nice and balanced. And then we're going to toss this hip over. Boom, toss that hip over. Make sure that hip rotates. The key in power, developing power, is to get that rotation out of that hip. So you can practice just turning that hip and turning that foot as you chop the arm. That's going to help you get that rotation for that kick. So let's go back to the push. We're here. We're just finished our combo with the push. From here, we're going to kind of leap off that rear foot diagonally. And as we leap, we're going to reach across the head, and then we're going to turn that hip over, right? Make sure that foot's turned out. Turn the hip over to, boom, hip goes through, and we're back to stance. Square up. Let's take it from the push. Twist through for the push, step, boom, and roll through for a nice low roundhouse. Targeting the legs, calf meat, hamstrings, any of those are good targets. Work from the push. Twist through for that push, step in, boom. Drive through for that low roundhouse and back to stance. Twist for the push, step in, boom. Low roundhouse and back to stance. And that's the end of round 3. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us for all 3 rounds. If you were here for 1 minute today, give yourself credit for that minute. If you're here for all 9 minutes, give yourself credit for showing up and moving forwards. Every single step counts, so please do count your steps. 794 days of progress and unlimited room and potential for growth ahead of me. Unlimited room for potential growth ahead of you as well. That's one of the coolest things about martial arts. We can keep getting more and more refined, more and more technical, adding more tools to our arsenal, and becoming very prepared for any given situation, or for more situations at least. And walking around fully armed with the art of 8 limbs, you can be sure it will increase confidence, self-esteem, and you'll be able to remain calm in higher intensity situations because you're conditioning yourself to deal with them and you're being physically prepared. I saw an interview from one of top level fighter, and they were talking about how to be mentally prepared to fight somebody in the ring, because it's a weird thing most of us are not going to experience in life. But he was talking about the number 1 rule, the number 1 key to being mentally ready to get in the ring with someone who's actively a threat to you. The number 1 way to be mentally prepared is to be physically prepared. So that's why we work with that somatic healing, that mind-body connection. We want to physically prepare ourselves. If we're training every day, if we're putting in that challenge for ourselves, right? It doesn't have to be just this class. It doesn't even have to be this class. But if you're taking a martial arts class somewhere, or you've got a heavy bag routine or a bob routine or something like that, giving yourself a daily accomplishable goal and continuing to train will make you physically ready for an altercation, which will mean you'll be mentally ready, mentally prepared to handle that stress. And it translates not just when you're dealing with a life or death, or you're dealing with a street fight, or you're dealing with a cage fight or anything like that, but that preparation translates into being mentally resilient and mentally prepared for any high stress situation, any event in which maybe a boss is yelling at you, or a family member's out of control, or somebody's losing their cool, and you get into that high stress environment, a high stress situation. Being physically prepared for anything, you're going to be mentally prepared. You're going to be mentally more resilient. That's one of the beauty of this whole art form. Is there are many levels of advancement, many pros, many areas in which this can benefit you outside of the ring and outside everyday life. So keep going, keep moving forwards, give yourself credit for that progress you're making, especially in the face of anything that's trying to stop you. And if this class wasn't intense enough for you to get that high intensity challenge you deserve today, make sure you give yourself a bonus round. I'm not stopping here. I'm going to be heading to the gym with Master Checo. We're going to get in that bonus work. I'm going to give myself a physical challenge that I deserve for today. I'm going to work on those technical skills as well. And I hope that you guys and girls are doing that as well for you, right? It's not about competition, not about me, or even about this movement. It's about you, for you, showing up for you. And then when we work together, we get to make it even better for everybody else involved. But remember, it always goes back to you and your self-care. So until next time, I will catch you guys. Same sack time, same sack channel, same sack life. Sack man out.